think for this video, I'm going to actually have to go ahead and kind of break something down here, and I'm going to actually have to show my face on this one here because it's just some stuff that's going on here, and for the most part, you can only sit there and listen to garbage only for so long, and you sometimes have to just learn how to just let things just be, I guess in normal cases. But when you get tired of hearing the same thing over and over, it's getting tired to the point, at least with me, that I'm going to actually have to take off my everyday hat once again, which I don't like, which I don't do all that often, and put on an education hat so I can actually school some folks on some things here, because it seems like there's some misunderstandings that's going on here regarding I guess the subject or the subject matter of whether or not can women actually raise young boys to be young men. I was actually just recently actually having a discussion, I guess, in a Facebook social circle or whatever, close people that I usually conversate with, and for the most part, the conversation was going kind of interesting and whatnot, but it kind of veered off into, I guess, with single parent households and everything like that, for the most part, and then, it kind of got a little bit heated where you have a whole bunch of people talking about it's not fair, that women are being left to, I guess, raise children on their own, and for the most part, they're actually not given the credit that they deserve, and instead of actually, I guess, insulting them, they need to actually praise them, for the hard work that they do, that sort of thing. Now, one thing about it here is that we already know in this world, in this day and time, that ignorance is bliss. And you can actually take knowledge to a person, but if they don't actually want to sit there and put on their thinking caps and take on this knowledge and actually reflect this, see pretty much how this whole thing plays out, there's not really much that you can do. So for the most part, for this particular rant here, I'm just going to go ahead and just put it out on the line. I'm going to go ahead and forewarn you. If this does not apply to you, then I don't need you to actually respond saying that this doesn't apply to every woman. I already know that, and it's already understood. So again, if this doesn't apply, let it fly. All right? Now, for the most part, there's only a couple of things that I know of for sure that is not someone's imagination, that is actually a fact, as far as today's women and as far as the outcome of these young men that they're raising, as far as them actually going at it on their own. The only thing that we know of for sure is that, number one, they're going to either turn out to be running for skinny jeans and lip gloss. Number two, they're going to be either dead or in the grave, which is pretty much the same thing. Or number three, they're going to be behind bars. Okay, we already know that there's exceptions to the rule, but generally, when you actually have today's women that are raising young boys to be men, these are going to usually be the outcomes that's actually going to happen. All right? Again, I am not here to sit here and argue with anybody because, again, I already know that, again, there are some women that actually raise these young boys to be productive men. I am not talking about you. You are excluded from this particular one. But if you want to sit here and listen to this rant, then you know what? You are more than welcome to do so. One thing that I actually learned, and one thing that we know for sure, is that generally speaking, a woman cannot raise a young boy to be a productive young man. You can only go so far. You cannot teach them what it is to be a young man in today's society, especially with the young women that are actually being forced to raise children these days. One of the main things that we actually have to understand and actually have to go back to and really I guess discuss is we got to learn to kind of hit the issue on the nail and really just kind of zero in on the issue. Okay, we're actually having a lot of girls, and I do call them girls because they are not young women. Okay, we are having these young girls that are there raising bastard children to actually to try to take on the role as actually being today's men, and the outcome of their, I guess, parenting skills is actually shown, and it's apparent on what we see today as what you would call, I guess, today's young men. Okay, if they're not overly effeminate, they're always wanting to look at and actually respond to life in a feminine way. And I say that because, number one, look at how they behave on YouTube. Look at how they actually treat their own bodies. Look at how they correspond with folks who may have a difference of opinion on things. Okay, I've sat here and witnessed time and time again of the issues, and I've actually talked about this issue in other videos. And again, and this is not something new. We see videos every day, where folks are threatening each other, where folks are actually, sitting up there saying that I know where you live, I can hunt you down, and this, that, and the other, all because they don't know how to settle disagreements like men. Women respond with, disagreements with name calling and threats and everything like that. This is how women respond to disagreements. But yet still, we're seeing today's men actually being transformed and actually behaving that way. And we actually have the nerve to wonder why in the world are today's men, quote unquote, softer than the ones that are in years past. Okay, I don't have any problem with, women actually, going out there and actually, I guess, doing the best they can with what they have to work with. But in the sense, it wouldn't be a problem if the women actually learn to respect their bodies. Okay, if you're going to sit there and actually put it out there, we're going to actually have to zero in and talk about this the truth. Okay, again, we have a lot of sorry men that are actually running around right now. And the reason why we have a lot of sorry men, men who don't want to step up and be men, men who don't want to take care of their responsibility, is because they are being raised with women who have no values. All right? We cannot sit there and actually say, okay, well, today's men, they are no good and everything like that. Because, again, if you look at the fact of no good men, you have to look at it. They had to come from someone else, which in this case has to be a no good woman. We have to understand and look at this and actually think about the names and these phrases that we sit out there and we throw out there in society to describe folks without really even thinking about what it means. Because, again, these men, when you sit up there and you actually zero in and actually ask someone to take responsibility for their own actions, the first thing they're going to do is they're going to look at other ways that they can escape the argument where they can come off scot-free. And I'm not going to let you off scot-free. Not this time, no. You want to sit up there and be called queens. You want to sit up there and be called beautiful and everything like this. But one thing about it is that I'm not going to call you anything. The only thing that you deserve is a swift kick in your behind. Because, again, there is no way that I'm going to sit up here and address and call a black woman a queen when she does not even know how to value herself as a queen. Every time you turn around, you're having babies. We're the only race that have babies out of wedlock. And I'm not even talking about other races because I'm centering in right now because on our statistics. Every time you turn around, somebody's giving birth. Where's the father? They are not around. Next thing you know, they're raising these children on their own, and the only way that they know how to raise them is pretty much the best way that they know how, which is, again, through using what they know of as a woman to raise a man. A woman cannot raise a boy to be a man, not a productive one. I already told you there are some cases where there is exception to every rule, but generally speaking, there are some things that a man is going to have to teach a young boy because, again, there's a role, there's an expectation that's going to be, I guess, given to them when they reach adulthood, and they're going to actually have to be able to perform this. A woman can go and tell a boy only for so much about what it's going to be like as an adult. And you cannot tell them how, they are to respond. The only thing you can tell them is how women are and how women react and what pitfalls and everything to stay away from with these sneaky women that's going around in today's society. That's the only thing that a mother can teach her son is how not to fall victim to these sneaky women. The man has to be there to explain everything else regarding the changes of the body, the puberty and everything else, and how that actually, forms, and how they notice sexual changes in the body and how they're supposed to act accordingly and how they're supposed to actually figure this thing out. This is a man's job. But when you actually have women that are there that are taking on these roles, and in most cases they're gladly taking over the roles because they don't even want the man in the house to begin with, because they rely on public assistance to take over the role of what that man is supposed to do. So all of this type of stuff going on about, they should be praised because of their abilities to raise a young boy into a young man. The only thing, again, that you need is a swift kick in your behind. Because of the output and because of what we see that's before us today. See, one thing about it is that with today's young men, and this is a fact, this is not something that I'm actually making up, but today's young man, if you look at it, they're actually looking for a father figure, and the only thing they have is that they have to overcompensate for what they didn't have in the home, which means that now they're going out there trying to overcompensate by trying to, I guess, prove their manhood, and they don't even know what being a man is all about. They go out there the wrong way. Next thing you know, they are the next subject on the front of the newspaper because they tried to go out there and be something that they have no idea or didn't even not have someone to show them what it's all about. This is the product of what we're calling here the era of single mothers. This is the era, this is the production, this is the output, this is what's being done, this is what is causing our children, our young men to behave in the way that they're behaving, because they know now, they see that mommy actually raised me, so now I have to respond to this environment based on how mommy would respond to it. This is the only leadership that most men in this day and time, that most black men in this day and time have. They don't have the leadership or the role model or whatever the case of this traditional male or the father, because again, they've been forced out of the house. You understand what I'm saying? So it's not the fact that, I'm trying to, I guess, lean on one way and trying to, it's like I'm pissed because basically the black woman for the most part has been conditioned to believe that she is the man and the woman. And I'm here to tell you, you are not a man. You will never be a man. More and more women these days want to look like one, but one thing about it is that you will never be a man. And until you can grow a penis between your legs, that's when you will be a man. That's when you can go and actually teach a young boy how to respond to the environment as a man. A woman cannot teach a young boy how to be a man. She can teach a daughter how to behave and act like a classy lady, but she cannot teach a boy how to be a man. The only thing she can do is give him pointers of pretty much the basics of adulthood and the things of how to steer clear of women and their tricky traits that they have in order, so that he won't end up getting somebody pregnant where he'll end up being, a father having to take care of a child at a young age. That's the only thing that she can give him. All that other stuff is going to have to come from a man. It's not about being sexist. It's not about being, misogynistic and all this type of stuff. It's about keeping it real and keeping it and actually zeroing in and telling it like it is. Because one thing that I hate is folks being ignorant, folks going out there believing in a lie, or actually just plain out ignoring the truth and accepting what's convenient for them. I'm not going to praise you or call you a queen or anything else when you don't even have control over your own self-esteem, when you don't even have control over your own body. The only thing that you want to do is go out there and actually trick. And then when you're done tricking, you end up with something more than what you bargained for, which is a baby. And next thing you know, you wonder why, okay, you can't get a male figure to stay around with you when you have these children to help you raise. Well, one thing about it is that look at these men that you're going out there to actually go and have sex with. And half the time, the ones who they're going out there having sex with, those were raised by single mothers as well. So go figure. You cannot teach a young boy on how to be a man from a female standpoint. It's not possible. Because the only thing that he's going to learn, again, is how to respond to the environment from according to how mommy did it. Becoming over emotional. Wanting to sit there and call folks names. Wanting to fight instead of sitting up there like men and sitting out there and discussing their differences like rational human beings. We want to sit there and attack and fight and name call and, attack someone's sexuality. All of those are traits of the black female from my standpoint. This is just ridiculous that today's young men, this is what they're being faced with. This is the future of today's young men when they're being raised by most of these trifling young women who really, instead of getting a pat on their back, they need a swift kick in their behind. It's a shame that we actually glorify, and for some people, they want their stupidity praised. You won't get it from me because it's not deserved. The only thing that you are earning, again, is the fact that you are going to be the next subject of a video where other men who were raised by single mothers are going to go ahead and call you out the trick that you were and that they always knew that you was because you gave it up so easily. And now that you have a child, guess what? You're going to raise it on your own because you should have known what you were getting yourself into. It's a cycle, people. It's a cycle. And it's a cycle that it just won't break because you have people that don't respect their bodies. You have people that don't actually have any reverence of their own body, much less bringing another body into the world. And then it's going on public assistance. Rational people are not going to bring something in this world that they know they can't afford to keep. And then you want to sit there and run from pillar to post trying to find out and trying to rationalize your actions by sitting up there saying, well, if this wouldn't happen, this, that, and the other. No. Stand up and man up or in your case, woman up and handle your responsibilities and say, you know what, I made a bad mistake. I thought I could do this, but I figured out that I couldn't. I made a bad choice, and now I have to live with it. And now I have to raise another son, hopefully, that will be a man and turn around and not do this and not respond to the environment like I would. It's ridiculous. I don't care about subscribers. I really don't. But this was something that was just eating me up. I know it's late, but I wanted to kind of get this out while it was fresh in my mind, because it's ridiculous when you actually sit up there and when you're starting to talk about this. And I knew something was going to go wrong when the conversation starts steering into single parent households and mothers having to be left to, I guess, bear the burden of raising a child. It's not a burden if you actually respect yourself. When you respect yourself, guess what? You will attract a man who would give you the respect that you deserve. When you're running out there not even caring about yourself, and then next thing you know, it's like you don't respect yourself, because number one, first of all, you glorify foolishness. You go out there listening to music, R&B music, that glorifies and calls you bitches and whores and everything like that. And then you want to turn around and actually behave in that way, and then you want to turn around and have folks to respect you because of that? Now you tell me what type of logic that is. It doesn't make any sense. I don't respect anyone who don't respect themselves. It's just as plain and simple. And one thing about it, again, is that these young boys who you're raising are turning into young men who don't know how to handle rejection. They don't know how to handle disappointment. They don't know how to handle disagreements, because the first thing they want to do is run and attack. And if they go through life that way, the only thing that they're going to be good for is the grave. Because most folks now, they're not taking that mess off of these effeminate, young, over-emotional young men who want to go and run to a gun or whatever to settle their disputes. They'll take them out before they get to them. And who's the fault and who's the blame for that? For the most part. I think I rest my case. I'm done with this rant. Good night.